China and the United States, two of the most powerful nations on earth, with vastly different histories and cultures. But in recent years, these two nations have been engaged in a fierce competition, vying for dominance in technology, politics, economics, and more. This is the story of their rivalry and how it has shaped the modern world. The 53-mile marathon. The United States and China have confronted numerous diverse features and complexities in their relationship. The United States was one of the primary nations to formally recognize and set up relations with China. Over a long time, the relationship has been tormented by ideological, political, and financial differences, contentions, and clashes. For example, the Korean War. Relations between the United States and China began to warm within the 1970s as the two nations faced the middle of the Cold War. U.S. President Richard Nixon made history when he went to China in 1972, and formal political relations were built up in 1979. Over a long time, Sino-U.S. have moved forward as a result of extending financial ties and participation on universal issues such as climate change, atomic non-proliferation, and counterterrorism. Therefore, the relationship has been getting weaker and weaker over time. China's development as a global financial and military powerhouse is scaring the United States. Since 2018, the two nations have been entangled in a trade war, with each side forcing charges on the other's items. The United States has long been a leader in technological innovation, with Silicon Valley at the forefront of the digital revolution. However, China is catching up fast, with its own tech giants like Huawei and Tencent challenging American dominance. Meanwhile, China has been investing heavily in infrastructure, building high-speed rail networks and massive ports and airports, positioning itself as a global economic powerhouse. China has become a manufacturing hub for the world, providing inexpensive labor and advanced production capabilities. Many American companies outsource their production to China, benefiting from the low cost and high-quality goods. However, this has led to accusations from the United States of intellectual property theft and unfair trade practice. The United States has been pursuing China to open its markets and reduce its trade surplus with the U.S. China, on the other hand, sees itself as an emerging global power and resents U.S. efforts to limit its economic growth. China has invested heavily in developing advanced technology, including artificial intelligence, 5G networks, and space exploration. The United States has traditionally been the global leader in the technological innovation. The military competition between the U.S. and China has been escalating, with the U.S. accusing China of expanding its military influence in the Pacific area. China sees the U.S. as trying to contain its rise as a global power and has been expanding its military capabilities in response. Both nations claim to be very diverse from each other, but the extent to which they differ is a matter of debate. Cultural differences between the U.S. and China have also contributed to their rivalry, with the U.S. valuing individual freedoms and democracy and China prioritizing stability and collective harmony. Education is a significant part of the cultural differences between China and the U.S., with China focusing on discipline and memorization, and the U.S. prioritizing creativity and critical thinking. These differences have led to conflicts, such as the recent protests in Hong Kong. And the political differences between the two nations have never been more stark, with China's authoritarian regime clashing with the democratic values of the United States. COVID-19 pandemic can also affect the relationship between these two nations, as the United States charged China of mismanaging the scourge and withholding data. China's human rights record has been a major point of contention, with its treatment of ethnic minorities in Xinjiang and its crackdown on dissent in Hong Kong, drawing international condemnation. But the United States is not without its flaws, with issues like systemic racism and income inequality challenging its claims of moral supremacy. Despite these differences, there are also similarities between the two nations, with both China and the United States sharing a deep sense of pride in their respective cultures and histories. In common, the complex and multifaceted U.S.-China relationship contains both participation and competition. The activities and eagerness of both nations to engage in constructive communication and participation will decide the long-run advancement of this relationship. Both nations have made immense contributions to human civilizations, with China's ancient inventions like gunpowder and paper, and America's innovations like the internet and space explorations. Because of that, the impact of U.S.-China relations is felt around the world and can have significant consequences for international trade, security, and diplomacy. As China and the United States continue to compete in the global arena, the world watches with bated breath, wondering what the future holds for these two great nations. The competition between the US and China is driven by a complex mix of economic, political, military, and technological factors. As both countries continue to grow and exert their influence on the world stage, it is likely that this rivalry will persist and possibly even intensify in the years to come. This is the story of China and the United States, a tale of competition and cooperation, of conflict and collaboration, of two nations striving to leave their mark on the world.